What if your dream of starting fresh turned into a battle for acceptance? When Maya Johnson joins the prestigious Horizon Academy, she hopes to find a place to grow her talent as an artist. Instead, she becomes the target of relentless bullying from Clara, a girl determined to tear her down. Maya's mural is vandalized, cruel rumors spread, and her confidence is shaken. But with her mother's support, loyal friends, and her art as her voice, Maya fights back. Can Maya rise above the cruelty and turn her pain into power? Or will the weight of the bullying break her spirit? Comment below. How do you think Maya will find her strength? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience and hope. Let's begin. Would you like to tweak it further or adjust the tone? The morning air was crisp and cool as Maya Johnson stepped out of her mother's car and onto the cobblestone path leading to Horizon Academy's grand front gates. She tightened her grip on her backpack straps, trying to steady her breathing as the imposing red brick buildings rose before her, framed by sprawling green lawns and towering oak trees. Maya's heart raced not with excitement, but with a nervous anticipation she couldn't shake. This school was supposed to be a fresh start, a place where she could focus on her art and build a future she had only dreamed of. Yet, the reality of being one of the few black students in an elite private school weighed on her, a constant reminder that she would stand out whether she wanted to or not. "You've got this, sweetheart," her mother Janet said, placing a reassuring hand on Maya's shoulder. Janet's voice was steady, but her eyes glistened with pride. "You're here because you've earned it. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." Maya nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I'll be fine, Mom," she said, though the words fell hollow. As she stepped through the gates and into the school's sprawling courtyard, she couldn't help but notice the clusters of students already gathered. Laughter and chatter filled the air, but no one looked her way. She was invisible for now. Inside, the school was just as grand, with high ceilings, polished floors, and walls lined with student achievements. A friendly teacher, Mrs. Watson, greeted her warmly and led her down the hall to her homeroom. "Maya Johnson," Mrs. Watson announced to the room. "Your new classmate." Maya forced a smile as 30 pairs of eyes turned to her. Most were curious, some indifferent, but one pair stood out. A girl with sleek blonde hair and piercing blue eyes smirked from the back of the room. "Take any empty seat," Mrs. Watson added, her tone encouraging. Maya scanned the room quickly and found a spot near the windows. As she sat down, she could feel the girl's gaze lingering on her, sharp and unkind. Maya ignored it, pretending to focus on the stack of papers the teacher handed out. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Teachers introduced themselves, and students navigated the routine of a new semester. Maya stayed quiet, observing the rhythm of the school. At lunch, she hesitated in the cafeteria, scanning the sea of students. Groups had already formed, their laughter and chatter blending into an intimidating hum. Maya clutched her tray, unsure where to go, when a boy waved at her from a nearby table. "Hey, over here," he called. Relieved, Maya made her way over. The boy had sandy brown hair and an easy smile. "I'm Liam," he said, offering his hand. "Maya," she replied, shaking it. "You knew?" Liam asked. Maya nodded. "First day." "Figured," he said, gesturing to the empty seat across from him. "Don't worry, it gets easier. You like sports or anything? Art? Music? Art," Maya said, surprised at how quickly she answered. "Same here," Liam said, grinning. "We got a great art room. You should check it out." Before Maya could respond, a shadow fell over the table. She looked up to see the blonde girl from her homeroom standing there, flanked by two others. Well, the girl said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Making friends already?" "Knock it off, Clara," Liam said, his tone sharp. Clara ignored him, her eyes fixed on Maya. "Welcome to Horizon," she said with a saccharine smile. "You'll love it here, assuming you can keep up." Maya stared back, unsure what to say. Clara didn't wait for a response. She and her friends walked away, their laughter trailing behind them. "She's just jealous," Liam said, trying to lighten the mood. "Don't let her get to you." Maya forced a smile, but Clara's words stuck with her. Over the next week, Maya tried to settle into the routine of classes, but Clara's presence loomed over everything. Her remarks were subtle, just loud enough for Maya to hear. In gym class, Clara muttered to her friends, "Does sunscreen even work for her?" The comment drew stifled giggles. During lunch, Clara walked past Maya's table and whispered, "I'm surprised she's still here. Must have a thick skin." Maya told herself not to react, but each comment chipped away at her confidence. She threw herself into her art, spending her free periods in the art room where she could lose herself in the swirl of colors and the quiet hum of creativity. One afternoon, Liam found her painting a vibrant sunset over a cityscape. "That's incredible," he said, leaning over her shoulder. "Thanks," Maya said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You should enter it in the school's art contest," Liam suggested. Maya hesitated. "I don't know. It's not that good." "Are you kidding? It's amazing. You'd definitely win." Maya smiled, a flicker of hope sparking inside her. Maybe she could prove herself through her art. Encouraged by Liam, Maya submitted her painting to the contest. As the announcement day approached, she felt a mix of excitement and dread. She wanted to succeed, but she also feared the attention it might bring. When the results were announced in an assembly, Maya's painting received an honorable mention. She felt a swell of pride as the principal called her name. But as she walked back to her seat, Clara's voice rang out. "Guess even pity votes count these days." The laughter that followed stung, but Maya kept her head high. Liam and Emily, a bubbly girl from her history class, clapped enthusiastically. "That was amazing," Emily said after the assembly. "Don't let Clara ruin it for you." Maya smiled, but the weight of Clara's words lingered. Whenever she could, it became her sanctuary, a place where she could shed the weight of the stares and whispers that followed her in the hallways. The school day was a gauntlet of subtle jabs and heavy silences, but here, surrounded by brushes and blank canvases, she felt like herself. One afternoon, as the sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting warm patterns on the tiled floor, Maya worked on a new piece. It was a portrait of a girl standing in a field of wildflowers, her face turned toward the sun. The girl's dark skin glowed against the vibrant yellows and greens of the flowers, a reflection of how Maya wanted to feel, bright and unshakable. The sound of the door creaking open broke her focus. Startled, she looked up to see Emily standing in the doorway, her camera slung around her neck. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt," Emily said, smiling sheepishly. "It's okay," Maya replied, setting her brush down. Emily stepped closer, her eyes scanning the canvas. "Wow, that's beautiful." "Thanks," Maya said, feeling a flush of pride. "You know," Emily began, tilting her head, "you should let me take a picture of this when it's done. It deserves to be seen." Maya hesitated. She wanted her work to be noticed, but the idea of opening herself up to more judgment made her stomach twist. "Maybe," she said finally. Emily didn't push. Instead, she took a seat nearby and began fiddling with her camera. "I love this room," she said, glancing around. "It's like the one place in this school where you can just breathe, you know?" Maya nodded. "Yeah, it's my favorite place too." For a moment, they sat in companionable silence, the only sound the gentle hum of the air conditioning and the occasional click of Emily's camera. Maya felt a flicker of hope, maybe, just maybe, she could find allies here. The next day, Clara escalated her taunts. It happened during gym class, a period Maya already dreaded. The class was running laps around the track, the late afternoon sun bearing down on them. As Maya jogged past Clara and her friends, she heard their laughter. "Careful," Clara called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You might blend in with the asphalt." The words hit Maya like a slap. For a moment, she froze, her feet stumbling over the gravel. A few students glanced her way, their faces a mixture of discomfort and amusement. Liam, running just ahead, slowed down and turned back. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low. Maya nodded quickly, not trusting herself to speak. After class, as Maya changed in the locker room, she could still hear Clara's voice echoing in her mind. She clenched her fists, fighting back tears. "Don't let her win," she whispered to herself. But it was easier said than done. That evening, Maya sat at the kitchen table, staring at her half-finished homework. Janet, sensing something was wrong, set down her mug of tea and joined her. "Rough day?" she asked gently. Maya hesitated, then nodded. "It's this girl at school, Clara. She says things." "What kind of things?" Maya looked down at her hands. "Just mean things. About how I look. About me being there." Janet's expression softened, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. "Maya," she said, reaching for her daughter's hand, "listen to me. People like Clara, they thrive on making others feel small. But you're not small. You are bold, brilliant, and beautiful. Don't you ever let her make you forget that." Maya blinked back, tears nodding. "Thanks, Mom." Janet smiled, giving her hand a squeeze. "And if this girl keeps bothering you, we'll handle it. Together." The next week, Maya's painting of the girl in the wildflowers was selected for the school's upcoming art contest. Mrs. Watson announced the finalists during homeroom, her voice full of enthusiasm. "Our very own Maya Johnson has been chosen as one of the top entries," she said, clapping her hands. The class offered polite applause, but Clara leaned over to Samantha, smirking. "Guess they needed to meet a diversity quota," she whispered, just loud enough for Maya to hear. Maya's stomach twisted, but she forced herself to focus on Mrs. Watson's encouraging smile. "Your work is amazing, Maya," the teacher said later, as the students filed out of the room. "Thank you," Maya replied, managing a small smile. When the day of the contest arrived, Maya stood nervously in the school's auditorium as parents, teachers, and students wandered among the displayed pieces. Her painting hung near the center, and she noticed several people stopping to admire it. "You did it," Liam said, appearing beside her. "Yeah," Maya said, her voice filled with both pride and nerves. When the judges announced the winners, Maya's name was called for an honorable mention. A wave of warmth spread through her chest as she stepped forward to accept the certificate. But as she returned to her seat, Clara muttered, "Guess even mediocre gets a ribbon these days." The comment stung, but Maya refused to let it ruin her moment. Liam and Emily cheered loudly, drowning out Clara's voice. Despite Clara's remarks, the contest gave Maya a renewed sense of purpose. Her painting had been seen, appreciated, and acknowledged. For the first time since arriving at Horizon Academy, she felt like she belonged. Maya decided to spend more time in the art room, refining her technique and working on new pieces. Emily joined her often, snapping photos of Maya's progress and brainstorming ideas for collaborative projects. "You're going to change this place," Emily said one afternoon as she watched Maya paint. Maya laughed softly. "I'm just trying to get through it." But deep down, she wondered if Emily might be right. The morning of the assembly, Maya felt a flicker of hope. She had worked hard on her art and was starting to feel like maybe things could change. The school auditorium buzzed with anticipation as students filed into their seats. The assembly was a mix of announcements, achievements, and awards, and Maya's painting had been mentioned as part of the highlights. As Mrs. Turner, the principal, began the presentation, Maya sat quietly with Liam and Emily, her palms damp with nerves. "Don't worry," Liam whispered. "You're going to do great." Maya smiled faintly, but kept her focus on the stage. When Mrs. Turner called her name, Maya stood, her heart pounding as applause filled the room. But just as she reached the stage to receive her certificate, laughter erupted from the crowd. Confused, Maya turned to see the screen behind her displaying a distorted, photoshopped version of her painting. The girl in the wildflowers now had exaggerated features and a cartoonishly large nose. Beside the image were the words, "In the spotlight or out of place?" Maya froze, her throat tightening. Clara's laughter cut through the noise like a knife. "Who did this?" Mrs. Turner demanded, her voice stern as she turned to the tech team. But the damage was done. Maya could feel the eyes on her, the whispers, the stifled laughter. She wanted to disappear. Liam was the first to meet her as she returned to her seat. "Maya, I'm so sorry. This is disgusting." Emily glared toward Clara's direction, her face red with anger. "We're telling Mrs. Watson," she said. "Right now." But Maya shook her head. "What's the point?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "They'll just say it was a joke." Despite her doubts, Liam and Emily convinced Maya to report the incident. Mrs. Watson listened carefully as Maya described what had happened. "This is unacceptable," Mrs. Watson said firmly. "I'll talk to Mrs. Turner about this immediately." Maya appreciated the support, but she couldn't shake the feeling that nothing would change. That evening, she sat in her room, staring at her sketchbook, but unable to draw. Her mother knocked gently on the door. "Maya, can I come in?" Maya nodded, her eyes wet with unshed tears. Janet sat beside her, pulling her into a hug. "Talk to me, baby," she said softly. Maya explained everything, her voice trembling as she recounted the assembly. Janet's face darkened, but she kept her voice calm. "This isn't over," Janet said. "We're going to handle this together." The next day, Maya arrived at school feeling fragile but determined. Liam and Emily stuck close to her, offering words of encouragement. As she walked into the art room, her breath caught in her throat. Her latest painting, a powerful depiction of a tree growing through cracked concrete, was defaced. Red paint had been smeared across the canvas, and the words "Stay in your lane" were scrawled across the bottom. Maya's knees felt weak as she stared at the ruined work. Emily gasped. "This has gone way too far." Liam's jaw tightened. "It's Clara. I know it's her." Maya said nothing, tears brimming in her eyes. She turned to Mrs. Watson, who had just entered the room. "Oh, Maya," Mrs. Watson said, her voice heavy with sympathy. "I'll make sure the principal knows about this." But even as the teacher reassured her, Maya couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. For the next week, Maya withdrew further into herself. The stairs and the hallways felt sharper, the whispers louder. Clara seemed to revel in her victory, making snide comments whenever Maya passed by. At lunch, Maya avoided the cafeteria altogether, opting to eat outside under a tree on the edge of the schoolyard. Liam and Emily often joined her, trying to lift her spirits. "You're stronger than this," Liam said one day, his voice firm. Emily nodded. "And you're not alone, Maya. We're with you." Maya appreciated their support, but the weight of the bullying felt crushing. One evening, as Maya scrolled through her phone, she froze. Clara had posted a video of the assembly incident, complete with mocking captions and edited clips of Maya's reaction. The video was spreading quickly, with students commenting and laughing. Maya's hands shook as she read the comments. "Can't believe she thought she belonged here. Art isn't for everyone, I guess." Her stomach twisted. This was a level of humiliation she hadn't anticipated. Janet found Maya curled up on her bed, clutching her phone. When she saw the video, her expression hardened. "We're reporting this," Janet said, her voice steady but fierce. "This is harassment, and it ends now." The next day, Janet met with Mrs. Turner to address the situation. Armed with screenshots and evidence, Janet made it clear that she would not tolerate the school's inaction. "This is more than bullying," Janet said firmly. "This is targeted harassment. And if the school won't protect my daughter, I'll find someone who will." Mrs. Turner, clearly uncomfortable, promised to investigate further. But Maya remained skeptical. At home, Maya and Janet reached out to a local advocacy group that supported students facing discrimination. The group offered resources and advice, empowering Maya to speak up. "You have a voice, Maya," Janet said that evening, "and it's time to use it." Maya nodded, a spark of determination igniting within her. The day after Janet's meeting with the principal, Maya felt a mix of anxiety and resolve as she walked into school. She had spent the evening rereading the hateful comments on Clara's video, each one chipping away at her self-worth. But now, she wasn't just sad, she was angry. As Maya walked through the hallway, she spotted Clara at her locker, surrounded by Brooke and Samantha. Their laughter floated over the chatter of other students. Without thinking, Maya marched over, her heart pounding. "Clara," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Clara turned, her smirk fading slightly when she saw Maya's determined expression. "Oh, look who decided to speak up," Clara said. "What do you want, Maya?" Maya took a deep breath. "Delete the video," she said firmly. "It's cruel, and it's wrong." Clara crossed her arms, her smirk returning. "Why would I do that? It's not my fault people think it's funny." "It's harassment," Maya shot back. You know it, and everyone else does too. Students in the hallway slowed, their attention shifting to the confrontation. Clara hesitated, her confidence faltering under the weight of the growing audience. Samantha shifted uncomfortably, muttering, "Maybe we should just let it go, Clara." But Clara wasn't ready to back down. "Stay out of it, Sam," she snapped before turning back to Maya. "You can't make me delete anything." Maya's hands trembled with frustration, but she stood her ground. "You think you're untouchable because of who your dad is," she said. "But people are starting to see who you really are, Clara, and it's not pretty." Before Clara could respond, Mrs. Watson appeared, her expression sharp. "Maya, clear my office now." In Mrs. Watson's office, Clara sat across from Maya, her arms crossed defensively. Mrs. Turner joined them moments later, her gaze flickering between the two girls. "Clara," Mrs. Turner began, "we've received multiple complaints about the video you posted. This behavior is unacceptable." Clara rolled her eyes. "It's just a joke." "It's not a joke to the person you're targeting," Mrs. Watson interjected, her tone firm. "You need to delete the video and apologize to Maya." Clara hesitated, then sighed dramatically. "Fine." She pulled out her phone and deleted the video, showing the screen to the teachers. "And?" Mrs. Turner prompted. Clara glanced at Maya, her expression dripping with insincerity. "Sorry, Maya." "Happy?" Maya stared at her, her jaw tight. "I don't need your fake apology," she said quietly. Mrs. Turner cleared her throat, breaking the tension. "Clara, this is your final warning. Any further incidents will result in serious consequences." As Clara left the office, she cast one last glare at Maya. "This isn't over," she muttered under her breath. Though the video was gone, its impact lingered. The whispers in the hallways continued, and Maya still caught students smirking when they passed her. "People don't just forget," Maya confided to Liam and Emily during lunch. "That video's out there forever." "You didn't deserve any of it," Liam said firmly. Emily nodded. "And we're going to make sure people see the real you, not the version Clara tried to create." Their support meant everything to Maya, but she couldn't shake the weight of the humiliation. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the distorted image on the auditorium screen, heard the laughter echoing in her ears. A week later, Clara struck again. During gym class, Maya returned from the track to find a stain on her uniform. Red paint, smeared across the back of her shorts, had begun to dry in the sun. Maya froze, her heart sinking as she realized what had happened. Laughter rippled through the group of students nearby, and Clara's voice rose above the noise. "Oh no, Maya," Clara called out, feigning concern. "Looks like you had a little accident." "Don't worry, it happens to everyone." The humiliation burned through Maya, but Liam was by her side in seconds. Without a word, he shrugged off his jacket and tied it around her waist, shielding her from the stairs. "Let's go," he said softly, steering her toward the locker room. Inside, Maya let the tears fall, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "Why does she hate me so much?" she whispered. Liam sighed, his voice heavy with frustration. "It's not about you, Maya. It's about her. Clara's miserable, and she wants everyone else to feel the same." Maya wiped her eyes, nodding. "I just want it to stop." That evening, Maya sat in her room, her sketchbook open on her lap. She hadn't touched it in days, and the blank pages seemed to mock her. When her mother knocked, Maya didn't respond, but Janet came in anyway, sitting beside her on the bed. "You don't have to face this alone," Janet said gently. "We can go to the school board, the media, whatever it takes." "I don't want to make things worse," Maya said, her voice small. Janet cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "Maya, you are not the problem. Clara is. And the only way people like her win is if we stay silent. You've been brave enough to stand up so far. Let me help you take it further." Maya met her mother's gaze and nodded slowly. For the first time in weeks, she felt the smallest flicker of hope. The meeting with the school board took place on a sunny Friday afternoon. Maya, flanked by her mother, Liam, and Emily, sat in a room filled with board members, teachers, and a few curious parents. Janet had brought a folder of evidence, screenshots of Clara's video, photos of the vandalized artwork, and even testimonies from other students who had witnessed the bullying. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she listened to Janet outline the events, her voice steady and unyielding. "This is not just about my daughter," Janet said. "It's about every student who has ever been made to feel small, excluded, or unsafe in this school. If we don't address this now, we're telling those students that they don't matter." When it was Maya's turn to speak, she took a deep breath and rose to her feet. The eyes in the room felt heavy, but she focused on the supportive faces of her friends. "I love this school," Maya began, her voice soft but growing stronger with each word. "I came here because I wanted to grow, to learn, and to share my art. But instead, I've been made to feel like I don't belong, like I'm less than everyone else because of the way I look." She paused, glancing at Janet, who gave her an encouraging nod. "But I'm not going to let that define me. I'm here to say that I deserve to be here. And so does anyone else who works hard and dreams big, no matter what they look like." The room was silent for a moment before one of the board members spoke. "Thank you for your bravery, Maya. We'll be reviewing this matter thoroughly." The following week, the school announced new anti-bullying initiatives. Posters appeared in hallways, advertising diversity workshops and peer support groups. Mrs. Turner sent a school-wide email emphasizing the administration's commitment to creating a safer environment for all students. At first, Maya felt skeptical. She had seen empty promises before. But when Mrs. Watson approached her during art class with a proposal, Maya felt a glimmer of hope. "I want you to help lead the first diversity workshop," Mrs. Watson said. "Me?" Maya asked, surprised. "You have a voice that people need to hear," Mrs. Watson said. "And your art has already started to make an impact." Maya hesitated but eventually nodded. "Okay, I'll do it." The first workshop took place in the library, with about 20 students in attendance. Maya stood at the front of the room, her nerves buzzing. Liam and Emily sat in the front row, their expressions encouraging. "I'm not an expert," Maya began, her voice trembling slightly. "But I know what it feels like to be judged for something you can't change. And I think we can do better, not just as individuals, but as a school." She shared her experiences, careful not to single out Clara by name. Instead, she focused on how the community could grow stronger through understanding and kindness. At the end of the session, several students approached her to thank her for speaking. One girl, a shy sophomore named Taylor, said, "I felt the same way before, but I didn't know how to say it." "You're really brave." Maya smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in weeks. With the success of the workshop, Maya threw herself back into her art with renewed energy. She began a new piece for the school's upcoming cultural festival, a mural celebrating diversity. The mural featured students of different backgrounds standing together under a vibrant sky, their hands linked. Maya worked tirelessly, often joined by members of the art club. Liam helped paint the sky, while Emily documented the process with her camera. As the mural neared completion, students passing by the art room stopped to admire it. Even teachers began praising Maya's work. "You're making a difference, Maya," Mrs. Watson said one afternoon, her voice filled with pride. Meanwhile, Clara's influence continued to wane. The school's investigation found that she had violated the code of conduct multiple times, resulting in a suspension. Her father's attempts to intervene only drew negative attention to their family, as the local media began reporting on the situation. At school, Clara's former allies started distancing themselves. Brooke and Samantha, tired of the drama, began sitting with other groups during lunch. She brought this on herself. Brooke said quietly to Maya one day, "I'm sorry for everything. I wish I'd stood up to her sooner." Maya accepted the apology but kept her focus on her work. The cultural festival marked a turning point for Maya and the school community. The event was a vibrant celebration of art, music, and food, with students and parents coming together to share their talents. Maya's mural was unveiled during the festival's opening ceremony. As the crowd gathered around it, Mrs. Turner stepped forward to speak. "This mural represents what we strive for at Horizon Academy: unity, understanding, and the celebration of our differences," she said. "And we have Maya Johnson to thank for inspiring us." The crowd erupted in applause as Maya stepped forward, her heart swelling with pride. As the festival wound down, Maya sat on a bench near the mural, watching as students and parents admired the artwork. Liam and Emily joined her, their faces glowing with pride. "You did it," Liam said, nudging her shoulder. "We did it," Maya corrected, smiling. For the first time in months, Maya felt a sense of peace. She had faced Clara's cruelty, the isolation, and the doubts, and she had come out stronger. But more than that, she had created something lasting, something that would remind everyone at Horizon Academy of the power of resilience and kindness. In the weeks following the cultural festival, Maya noticed a shift in the atmosphere at Horizon Academy. Students who had once avoided her began approaching her, not with pity, but with curiosity and admiration. "I love the mural," a younger student said shyly one morning. "It makes me feel like I belong here." Hearing those words filled Maya with a quiet pride. It wasn't just her victory, it was a step forward for everyone who had ever felt overlooked or out of place. Mrs. Watson proposed turning the mural project into a yearly tradition. "It can be a way for students to express themselves and leave something meaningful behind," she explained. Maya agreed to mentor the next group of artists, a role she embraced with enthusiasm. The mural became a gathering point for students, its vibrant colors a reminder of the strength in unity. Maya's friendships with Liam and Emily deepened as they continued working on projects together. The three often stayed late in the art room, sharing ideas and encouraging one another. "You've really changed this place," Emily said one evening, snapping a picture of Maya, adding final touches to a new painting. "Not just me," Maya replied. "We did it together." Liam grinned. "You're the fearless leader, though. Admit it." Maya laughed, but a part of her marveled at how far she had come. For the first time, she felt like she truly belonged. As Maya flourished, Clara's suspension ended, and she returned to school. The once confident girl was now quieter, her usual entourage reduced to a few distant acquaintances. The shift in power was evident, but Maya remained cautious. One afternoon, Clara approached Maya in the hallway. Liam and Emily tensed, but Maya held her ground. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "For everything." Maya studied her for a moment. The apology felt hollow, but Clara's subdued demeanor suggested she had been humbled by the consequences of her actions. "You hurt a lot of people, Clara," Maya said calmly. "If you're really sorry, prove it by doing better." Clara nodded, her gaze dropping. "I'll try," she murmured before walking away. With the school's support, Maya took on a leadership role in the newly formed Diversity and Inclusion Committee. The group met weekly to discuss ways to improve the school's environment, from hosting cultural events to revising policies on bullying. At their first major meeting, Maya stood before a group of students and teachers, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. "We're here because we believe in this school and want to make it better," she began. "It's not about pointing fingers, it's about working together to create something we can all be proud of." The room buzzed with energy as students shared their ideas. Maya felt a sense of purpose she hadn't known before, and for the first time, she saw a future where her voice could truly make a difference. Inspired by her success with the mural, Maya began using her art to explore deeper themes of identity and resilience. She started a new series of paintings for a regional art competition, each piece reflecting a different aspect of her journey. One painting depicted a black girl standing under a stormy sky, her arms raised as sunlight broke through the clouds. Another showed a tree growing through cracks in concrete, its roots deep and unyielding. As she worked, Maya felt a catharsis she hadn't experienced before. Each brushstroke was a release, a way of reclaiming her story. When the competition results were announced, Maya's series won first place. The recognition was a milestone, but more importantly, it was a validation of the power of her voice. The school's efforts to promote inclusivity began to take root. The Diversity and Inclusion Committee organized a series of workshops, and attendance grew with each session. Students who had once stayed silent now shared their stories, finding strength in their vulnerability. Even teachers began participating, reflecting on how they could better support their students. During one workshop, Maya listened as a student described her struggles with fitting in. "I used to feel invisible," the girl said. "But seeing what Maya's done, it gives me hope." Maya's chest tightened with emotion. It wasn't just about her anymore, it was about the ripple effect of her actions. As the school year drew to a close, Maya stood in the courtyard, gazing at the mural. The sunlight played across its surface, making the colors even more vibrant. Liam and Emily joined her, their faces glowing with pride. "We've come a long way," Liam said. "We really have," Maya replied, her voice tinged with gratitude. For the first time in months, she felt at peace. She had faced the worst and emerged stronger, not just for herself, but for her entire community. The summer heat lingered as Maya walked through the quiet halls of Horizon Academy, mentally preparing for her new responsibilities in the upcoming school year. She was proud of how far she and the school had come. The mural had become a symbol of resilience, and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee had already planned several impactful projects. But as the new semester began, Maya felt a familiar tension creeping back. Whispers followed her in the hallways, subtle but unmistakable. When she glanced over her shoulder, she caught glimpses of Clara and her remaining clique, their eyes glinting with something she couldn't quite place. "Do you think she's still mad?" Maya asked Liam one afternoon as they set up for an art club meeting. "Clara," Liam snorted. "She's probably just embarrassed. Ignore her. She doesn't have the same power she used to." Maya nodded, but a flicker of unease remained. It began subtly: a snide comment in passing, a smirk during class presentations. Clara had returned to her old ways, but this time, she was more calculated. She didn't target Maya directly. Instead, she began spreading rumors, sowing doubt about Maya's accomplishments. "She only won that contest because she played the race card," Clara whispered to a group of students during lunch. "Everyone knows the judges just wanted to look inclusive." The rumors reached Maya quickly. At first, she tried to brush them off, but their persistence wore on her. Students who had once admired her now seemed unsure, their compliments tinged with awkwardness. "Do you think people believe her?" Maya asked Emily one day. "Some might," Emily admitted, "but the people who matter know the truth." Maya nodded, but the doubt gnawed at her. One evening, Maya's phone buzzed incessantly as notifications flooded in. Clara had posted an inflammatory video on social media, mocking Maya's mural. The video featured distorted clips of students walking past the mural with sarcastic captions like, "Such a masterpiece, too bad it's a diversity pity project." The post went viral within the school community, sparking heated debates in the comments. Some students defended Maya, while others joined in the mockery. Maya stared at her screen, her heart sinking as she scrolled through the comments. "Clara's not wrong, though. Can we stop pretending this is good art? Maya's just a wannabe." Her hands trembled as she clicked off the app, her chest tightening with anxiety. Janet found her sitting on the couch, her face pale. "What happened?" Maya handed her the phone, unable to speak. Janet's eyes darkened as she read the comments. "This has gone too far," she said firmly. "We're not letting her get away with this." The next morning, Janet marched into the principal's office, demanding a meeting. Mrs. Turner, clearly uneasy, listened as Janet outlined the severity of the harassment. "This isn't just bullying anymore," Janet said. "It's defamation. If the school doesn't act, I'll have no choice but to escalate this legally." Mrs. Turner sighed, rubbing her temples. "I understand your frustration, Mrs. Johnson, but Clara's family, they're powerful. Her father has already threatened to pull funding if we overreact." Janet's voice hardened. "This isn't an overreaction, it's protecting my daughter. If you won't do it, I will." Later that day, the school board announced an investigation into Clara's behavior, but the damage had already been done. The video continued circulating, and Maya felt the weight of every cruel comment like a physical blow. The following week, Clara upped the ante. During a school event, she and her friends slipped fake flyers into students' lockers. The flyers mocked the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, calling it Maya's pity party and featuring crude caricatures. Maya found one in her own locker, her hands trembling as she read the words. Tears blurred her vision, but she quickly wiped them away, refusing to let Clara win. That evening, Maya sat with Janet, her head buried in her hands. "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Mom," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Janet wrapped her arms around Maya, her voice soothing but firm. "Yes, you can. You've already done so much, Maya. Don't let her take that away from you. Maya nodded, but the doubt lingered. Unbeknownst to Maya, her story had caught the attention of a local journalist, Rachel Carter, who specialized in youth advocacy. Rachel reached out to Janet, offering to write a feature on Maya's journey and the challenges she had faced. At first, Maya hesitated. What if it just makes things worse? She asked. It could, Janet admitted, but it could also show people the truth. You have a chance to take control of your story. Maya agreed, and the article was published the following week. It highlighted her accomplishments, the bullying she had endured, and her efforts to foster unity at Horizon Academy. The response was overwhelming. Parents, teachers, and even students from other schools reached out to Maya with messages of support. You're incredible, one message read. Don't let them dim your light. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt a flicker of hope. The publicity brought a new level of scrutiny to Clara's actions. The school board, under pressure from parents and advocacy groups, issued a formal reprimand. Clara's father, facing backlash from the community, withdrew his threats and offered a public apology on behalf of his daughter. Clara's influence crumbled. Her remaining friends distanced themselves, and she became a shadow of her former self. Though she remained at Horizon Academy, her power over the student body was gone. Maya watched from a distance, feeling a mix of relief and pity. I don't want her life to be ruined, she told Liam. I just wanted her to stop. You're a better person than she'll ever be, Liam said, smiling. The school board implemented new policies to address bullying and harassment, including stricter enforcement of the code of conduct and regular workshops on empathy and inclusion. At the final Diversity and Inclusion Committee meeting of the year, Maya reflected on everything that had happened. This isn't just about me, she said. It's about making this school a place where everyone feels like they belong. The room erupted in applause, and Maya felt a warmth she hadn't felt in months. Maya sat alone in her room, the walls seeming to close in around her. Her sketchbook lay open on her desk, its blank pages mirroring the emptiness she felt. The relentless bullying, the cruel flyers, and Clara's escalating attempts to undermine her had drained Maya of the confidence she had fought so hard to build. When her mother, Janet, knocked and entered, Maya didn't look up. Janet sat beside her, silent for a moment before speaking. Maya, she said softly, you don't have to keep all this inside. Let it out. Maya's voice trembled as she whispered, I thought I was stronger than this, Mom. But it feels like no matter what I do, she'll always find a way to bring me down. Janet took Maya's hand, her grip firm but gentle. You are strong, Maya. Being strong doesn't mean you don't feel hurt. It means you keep going, even when it's hard. Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. Janet held her as she cried, the weight of months of frustration, pain, and doubt pouring out in a stream of hot tears. When Maya finally pulled back, Janet smiled and wiped her face. We're not letting her win. You've got an entire community behind you, Maya. Let's remind Clara of that. The next day, Janet met with Rachel Carter, the journalist who had written the initial feature about Maya. Together, they strategized how to use the media to shine a light on the systemic issues that had allowed Clara's bullying to persist. Rachel pitched a follow-up story to her editor, one that highlighted Maya's advocacy work, the school's new initiatives, and the ongoing challenges of creating an inclusive environment. This isn't just about Horizon Academy, Rachel explained to Janet. It's about showing other schools how to handle these situations and why it's important to take bullying seriously. Maya hesitated when Janet brought the idea to her. I don't want people to think I'm just seeking attention, she said. You're not, Janet assured her. You're using your voice to help others. And that's the kind of attention the world needs. The second article went live 2 weeks later. It told Maya's story with honesty and nuance, focusing on her resilience and the changes she had inspired at Horizon Academy. It also included interviews with other students who had faced discrimination, creating a broader narrative about the need for systemic change. The response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. Emails and social media messages flooded in, many from students and parents who had faced similar struggles. You've given me hope, one message read. Thank you for being brave enough to speak out. At school, the atmosphere began to shift again. Students who had been swayed by Clara's rumors now approached Maya with apologies and words of encouragement. Clara doesn't speak for us, one student said. We see what you're doing, and we support you. Maya's confidence slowly returned, bolstered by the outpouring of support. Clara, however, wasn't done. With her father's political influence waning and her social standing at school diminished, she grew desperate. One afternoon, Maya found her sketchbook defaced with cruel drawings and hateful messages scrawled across the pages. Maya stared at the ruined book, her hands shaking with anger. But instead of breaking down, she took the sketchbook to Mrs. Watson, who immediately brought the issue to the principal. Mrs. Turner, now under scrutiny from the school board and the public, took swift action. Clara was called into a meeting with her parents, where she was given a choice: either enroll in counseling and community service or face expulsion. Clara reluctantly agreed to the counseling, her bravado finally cracking under the weight of accountability. That evening, Maya sat in the art room, staring at her mural. The vibrant colors seemed to glow in the soft light, a testament to her journey. Liam and Emily joined her, their presence grounding her. "You've come so far," Liam said, leaning against the wall. "Don't let her take that away from you." Maya nodded, a small smile forming. "She won't," she said. "I won't let her." For the first time in weeks, Maya felt a sense of peace. The school began implementing more comprehensive measures to address bullying and promote inclusivity. Workshops became mandatory, and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee gained a stronger voice in decision-making. Maya found herself at the center of these efforts, her voice carrying weight she hadn't realized she had. During one workshop, she spoke candidly about her experiences, emphasizing the importance of empathy and understanding. "We all have a responsibility to make this school a place where everyone feels safe and valued," she said. Her words resonated, and students began taking ownership of their roles in creating a better environment. One afternoon, Clara approached Maya in the courtyard. She looked nervous, her usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry," Clara said, her voice quiet. "For everything." Maya studied her, searching for sincerity. "Why now?" she asked. Clara hesitated. "Because I realize now that I was wrong. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know." Maya considered her words before replying. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet, but I hope you mean it, and I hope you do better." Clara nodded, her expression subdued. As the school year drew to a close, Maya felt a sense of closure. She had faced Clara's worst and emerged stronger, not just for herself, but for her community. At the final assembly, Mrs. Turner presented Maya with an award for her contributions to the school. The applause that followed was genuine and loud, filling Maya with a warmth she hadn't felt in months. Later, as she stood by the mural with Liam and Emily, Maya reflected on her journey. She had found her voice, her strength, and her purpose. And as she looked toward the future, she knew she was ready for whatever came next. The summer sun streamed through the windows of Horizon Academy's art room, where Maya sat putting the final touches on a new painting. The vibrant canvas depicted a black girl standing in a field of wildflowers, her face turned toward a golden sunrise. It was a tribute to her journey, a reflection of the resilience, growth, and hope that had carried her through the year. Liam and Emily stood nearby, admiring the work. "That's your best one yet," Emily said, snapping a picture. "Agreed," Liam added. "It's like all of you in one painting." Maya smiled, feeling a warmth in their words. "Thanks. I think it's the first piece I've done just for me." The mural still stood proudly in the courtyard, but now it had company. Students from the art club had added their own pieces around it, creating a colorful mosaic of unity and expression. It was a testament to the change Maya had inspired, a physical representation of how far the school had come. As the school year resumed, Maya received unexpected news. Mrs. Watson called her into the art room one morning, her face glowing with excitement. "Maya," she began, "you've been nominated for the Horizon Scholarship for Excellence in the Arts." Maya blinked in disbelief. "The Horizon Scholarship? It's a full ride to the Academy of Fine Arts," Mrs. Watson explained. "Your portfolio, your mural, and your leadership here made you the perfect candidate." Tears pricked Maya's eyes as she processed the news. I don't know what to say. Just say yes when they officially offer it, Mrs. Watson said with a smile. That evening, Maya shared the news with her mother, who wrapped her in a tight hug. You deserve this, baby, Janet said, her voice thick with emotion. You've worked so hard for it. As part of her scholarship application, Maya began working on a final series of paintings. Each piece told a chapter of her story, from the initial excitement of starting at Horizon Academy to the pain of Clara's bullying, and finally, the triumph of finding her voice. One piece depicted the mural itself, with students of all backgrounds standing before it, their faces bright with hope. Another showed a single tree growing from cracked soil, its roots deep and unyielding. The series drew admiration from her teachers and peers. You've captured something really powerful here, Mrs. Watson said as she reviewed the pieces. Maya felt a surge of pride. This was more than art, it was her legacy. One afternoon, as Maya packed up her art supplies, Clara approached her in the hallway. She looked nervous, her usual confidence replaced by an air of vulnerability. I heard about the scholarship, Clara said quietly. Congratulations. Maya raised an eyebrow, unsure of Clara's intentions. Thanks. Clara hesitated before continuing. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm trying to be better. Maya studied her for a moment. Clara's words felt sincere, but Maya knew forgiveness wasn't something that came easily. I hope you are, Maya said finally, because what you did hurt a lot of people. But I also believe people can change. Clara nodded, her eyes downcast. Thank you, she murmured before walking away. Maya watched her go, feeling a mix of closure and hope. The acceptance letter arrived in late spring, a sleek envelope with the Academy of Fine Arts logo embossed on the front. Maya's hands trembled as she opened it. Her mother and friends gathered around. When she read the words, "We are pleased to offer you admission and a full scholarship," the room erupted in cheers. You did it, Liam shouted, pulling her into a hug. I'm so proud of you, Maya, Janet said, tears streaming down her face. Maya smiled through her own tears. We did it, she said softly. All of us. The final week of school was bittersweet. Maya had grown so much over the past year, but the thought of leaving Horizon Academy behind felt surreal. During the final assembly, Mrs. Turner presented Maya with the Leadership Award for her contributions to the school. The applause was loud and genuine, filling Maya with a sense of accomplishment she hadn't thought possible months ago. Thank you, Maya said as she accepted the award. This year has been one of the hardest of my life, but it's also been the most meaningful. I've learned that even in the darkest times, there's light to be found, and sometimes you have to create that light yourself. Her words were met with a standing ovation. On the last day of school, Maya stood in the courtyard, her fingers tracing the edge of the mural. Liam and Emily joined her, their expressions tinged with nostalgia. This place won't be the same without you, Emily said. But it's better because of you, Liam added. Maya smiled. It's better because of all of us. She turned to look at the mural one last time. This isn't just my legacy, it's ours. And I know it'll keep growing. As summer began, Maya packed her belongings and prepared for her next chapter at the Academy of Fine Arts. Her heart was full of anticipation and gratitude. She knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but she felt ready for whatever challenges came her way. Her last painting before leaving was a self-portrait. It showed a girl standing tall, her hands holding a palette of bright, bold colors. Behind her was a rising sun, its rays spreading across the canvas. Maya titled it Standing in the Light. The art room was alive with activity as Maya, Liam, and Emily worked together on a new project for the upcoming Diversity and Inclusion Committee event. The theme was Together We Rise, and they had decided to create a collaborative piece that combined their unique talents. Liam leaned over the large canvas spread out on the table, his brush moving in quick, confident strokes. Okay, hear me out, he said, glancing at Maya. What if we make the background a gradient of blues and purples, like the sky at twilight? Maya nodded thoughtfully, running her fingers along the edge of her palette. I like it. It'll make the figures in the foreground stand out more. Emily, perched on a nearby stool with her camera slung around her neck, snapped a picture of their progress. "You guys are seriously a dream team," she said, grinning. "It's like you can read each other's minds." Maya laughed. "I think we've just spent way too much time together." "Hey, no such thing," Liam replied. "If anything, we should spend more time together. I mean, who else is going to put up with my genius ideas?" Emily rolled her eyes. "Genius? Sure. Let's not forget your genius idea to mix glitter into paint last week. It's still stuck on my shoes." Maya smiled, her heart warming at their easy banter. It was moments like these that reminded her how much their friendship had grown. Liam's unwavering support and Emily's infectious optimism had been her lifelines during the darkest times. Later that evening, the three friends gathered at Maya's house for a movie night. Janet had ordered pizza for them, leaving the living room filled with the comforting scent of melted cheese and garlic. As they settled onto the couch, Liam grabbed the remote and waved it dramatically. "All right, what are we watching? Something artsy and profound? Or something with explosions and bad dialogue?" "Explosions," Emily said without hesitation. "It's been a long week." Maya laughed. "Explosions it is." The night was filled with laughter and teasing as they watched a blockbuster action movie. At one particularly ridiculous scene, Liam groaned. "This is so unrealistic. There's no way the car would survive that fall." Emily threw a pillow at him. "You're ruining the magic." By the time the credits rolled, the three of them were sprawled across the couch, their laughter replaced by a comfortable silence. "Thanks for this," Maya said softly, breaking the quiet. "I don't know where I'd be without you guys." Liam turned to her, his expression serious for once. "You'd be just fine, Maya. But we're glad you let us be here for you." Emily nodded. "Seriously, you've been through so much, but you never gave up. That's pretty inspiring." Maya felt her cheeks flush. "You guys inspire me too. You remind me that I'm not alone." The next week, Maya and her friends decided to create a smaller art project together, one they could each keep as a reminder of their friendship. They settled on painting 3 canvases that, when placed side by side, formed a cohesive image of a tree with interwoven branches. "Okay, I'll take the left canvas," Emily declared, grabbing her brushes. "I'll make sure it looks good enough to compensate for Liam's side." "Wow," Liam said, mock-offended. "You wound me. I'm about to create a masterpiece." As they worked, Maya noticed how the branches of their tree seemed to flow naturally into each other, as if they were perfectly in sync. When they stepped back to admire the finished pieces, she couldn't help but smile. "It's like us," she said. "Different but connected." Emily grinned. "Ah, look at you getting all sentimental. Don't pretend you're not crying inside," Liam teased, earning a laugh from Maya. They each took their canvas home, agreeing to hang them in their rooms as a symbol of their bond. As the school year came to an end, Maya, Liam, and Emily made a pact to stay in touch no matter where life took them. They planned summer art projects, gallery visits, and regular meetups to ensure their friendship remained strong. On the last day of school, as they stood together by the mural, Emily snapped one final photo of the three of them, their arms around each other and smiles on their faces. "This isn't goodbye," Maya said firmly. "Definitely not," Liam agreed. "It's just the next chapter." As the story drew to a close, Maya reflected on her journey, the challenges, the triumphs, and the friendships that had carried her through it all. Standing before the mural, she felt a deep sense of gratitude and purpose. "This isn't just about me," she said softly, running her fingers along the edges of the painting. "It's about everyone who's ever felt like they didn't belong. We all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small." Looking out at the courtyard, she smiled, imagining the students who would pass by this mural in the years to come. If Maya's story inspired you, take a moment to reflect on how you can spread kindness and positivity in your own life. Let's work together to create a world where everyone feels valued and seen. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear this message, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire and uplift. Thank you for watching.